Bună seara la Cafeneaua critică din seară regală, 10 mai, nu? Cred că pot să spun asta. Așa. Așa. Welcome, willkommen, dacă mai sunt și alte limbi, if someone here speaks something else than English or German, please say so that I can welcome you in all languages of the world. O să încercăm să purtăm discuția de astă seară în engleză, română, dacă e nevoie și în franceză, în ce limbă veți simți fiecare dintre cei care doriți să interveniți nevoia să vă exprimați și încercăm să facem cumva traduceri, poate locale, spunând, șoptind celor de alături despre ce e vorba. I'm just saying in Romanian that we'll try to speak either English, Romanian, or if necessary French and whatever, with possible small translations for people sitting next to us and obviously not knowing, for instance, Romanian. So we'll try to help you some way, we'll see. I will make an introduction in Romanian first, and sau să vorbesc englezește. Toată lumea e confortabilă cu limba engleză? Încercăm să facem cât mai mult în englezește? Da? Probleme pentru cineva ca să știu dacă... Da, sigur că da, sigur că am spus, sigur, vă rog, cum să nu. Da, foarte bine. So I will switch to English and will try to make it mostly in English. Mrs. Mundru will also speak French, but we'll see. Everyone here, I think, should feel at ease. So nobody should speak English if not feeling like that, or any other language. So, as you all know, we are here in order to discuss about and also promote, I would say. This is also a promotional event. The 5th edition of the International Experimental, what's the English, Engraving Biennial. The International Experimental Engraving Biennial, scheduled to be opened in December this year and lasting until sometime in February. Mostly in Mogoșoaia at the cultural center, the Brancovan Palace is there, represented here by Mrs. Ioan Mundru, a wonderful art critic and art historian, one of the main curators in contemporary Romania, and also in venues in Bucharest and in Sibiu. So Ciprian Ciuclea, the director of the biennial and of the organization, the foundation they have organized in order to, they have established in order to organize the biennial, is here. Ciprian is sitting right there. He has launched the biennial with a group of friends in Timișoara. We are happy to have here from Timișoara Mrs. Suzana Fântânariu, a wonderful artist, one of the leading artists in Romania today. And Ciprian has moved to Bucharest, so the biennial has moved to Bucharest, and Ciprian has met Olivia Nițiș, and they eventually married. So Olivia Nițiș is now the deputy director of the biennial, and Andreea Micu is also she has not married Ciprian.
But we all love each other.
But they all love each other. And she's a strong support in at the core of the organizational team of this wonderful event. They have migrated from different places to others, and this is going to be already the second, I think, edition with its main exhibition in Mogoșoaia, or the third already, okay. We have discussed about the preceding edition after its closure, or during its development in Bucharest, right before you were heading to Sibiu. 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, we have discussed the 4th edition in a more analytical way. Now we don't know exactly how the 5th edition will look like, it's just a project. Therefore, we will be listening here to whatever prospect we may have, to what Ciprian and his team are preparing for this edition, which is also going to rely on the help, the friendly help, and on the know-how of Mr. Richard Noyce, well-known British art critic and art historian with a brilliant career related to engraving in Europe, in Poland, worldwide, author of books, in-depth analysis in whatever is related to engraving and complementary art forms. Also, a curator associated with this edition for the second time is our friend Adrian Guță, who has also, at the 4th edition, curated the section of Romanian engraving within the framework of this wonderful biennial. And I'm also welcoming here, obviously, you all. I'm very glad to see that there are also other important artists, critics, and so on. Florica Prevenda, Adriana Oprea, Valeriu Șcheau, Liliana, Gabriel, Mihai, and so on and so forth, Cosmina. I switched to just first names. We are in a wonderful, I think, group of friends, and I'm very happy to meet so many important artists here. A living classic is Mircea Florian, who is a multimedia artist. Mr. Petrașinku is also here. Welcome. So, I think the scenario at the beginning, at least, will be the following. I will first invite Ciprian Ciugla to say something briefly as an introduction about the 5th edition. Maybe Olida, if you want to add something, and then we will listen to a presentation of Richard Noyce, and we will develop on with everyone here, everyone in the room. I also want to mention, and I guess the organizational team of the Biennial is very happy that this is happening. We are also having here as guests two distinguished and pretty ladies from Austria representing the ONV. Here in Romania we call it ONV. ONV, grupul the oil and fuel group. I don't know exactly what's the international, the English label for that. So we are having here as guests. I don't have.
So Barbara Baum and Joska Push.
Yes, I have put them initially in my announcement, but they have specifically. May I say that out loud? They have specifically asked us to withdraw their names because they're just representatives of the company. However, our guests and friends here are also involved in cultural events, organizing events, working for the ONV, but also part of our family, I should say. And welcome to Bucharest. Willkommen in Bucharest. Sie sind hier herzlich willkommen. Ja? Habe ich gut gesagt, Herr Florian? Dankeschön. Mircea Florian, lebt in Deutschland, auch in Bukarest. Wir sind hier sehr kosmopolitisch, muss ich sagen. Am Sie es wieder. Okay, sorry for such a long introduction, but I think there were many people to be introduced, so I needed to do that. Ciprian, please take a microphone. All microphones are working.
It's working.
Yes. So please, introductory sentences about the fifth edition of the International Experimental Engraving Biennial in Bucharest.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I would like to present briefly some of the fifth edition of our biennial. First, the period. It's from the 8th of December this year to the end of February 2013. The organizers of this biennial is our Experimental Project Association in collaboration with Centrul Cultural Palatele Brâncovenești from Mogoșoaia. And our main sponsor, I have to say this because it's extremely important for us. The spaces, very important, the spaces for this edition is again Centrul Cultural Palatele Brâncovenești from Mogoșoaia, where we have two exhibitions. The main exhibition created by Richard Noyce from United Kingdom, and the exhibition of experimental printmaking with Romanian artists created by Mr. Adrian Guță from Romania. Also, we have two others parallel projects in Bucharest at the Victoria Art Center with three national pavilions, Austria, Poland, and Hungary. The curator will be Olivia Nițiș. Another space is Atelier 030202 in Bucharest, represented by Mihai Zgondoiu, with a very, very interesting experimental project developed together with Square Media. We'll see, will be very, very interesting. And also another exhibition in February in Sibiu at the Contemporary Art Gallery of the Brukenthal National Museum. Will be a Romanian artist put together in a dialogue with the collection of 18th century of printmaking collection of Brukenthal Museum. So this is briefly our program, and I think it's very important to give to Mr. Richard Noyce to present his selection for the main exhibition of our biennial. So please.
Richard Noyce, you're having now the floor, or the microphone rather.
Right. Can you hear me? Good
Absolutely.
evening. Good evening. I do apologise that I don't speak fluent Romanian. I live in Wales.
Until December you will have time enough to learn.
Okay, I shall try. I'm English, but I live in Wales, and I think if I spoke Romanian in Welsh, not even the sheep would understand me. So, yes, we do have sheep in Wales. All the jokes are untrue. Seriously, I'm delighted and honoured to be here this evening. It's a wonderful experience. In fact, there's a circle of friends already, most of whom I haven't met before, but that's great. I'm a long believer in the idea that a stranger is a friend you haven't yet met. So that's where we'll start. I'm going to give you a presentation of some ideas that I've developed for this a wonderful event that Ciprian and Olivia have been working on for the last 4 editions and now for the 5th. When they wrote to me a while ago, I was delighted to receive the invitation. I met Ciprian in Cuenca in 2000 and something, 8, yes, the years ago. And was very impressed with the work that I saw there, and we had an opportunity to talk at some length. Later, I was on the jury for the Premio Máximo Ramos in Ferrol in northern Spain, when I was absolutely delighted to be able to push very hard for Ciprian to be the joint first prize winner and a very worthy recipient of that joint first prize. So our contests have continued, and now I find myself here in Bucharest, and I'm delighted, absolutely delighted to be here. I first came across Romanian contemporary art when I looked a bit like this. It was a while ago. I no longer have that jacket. All those glasses. The glasses have changed a bit. Some of the hair is gone. I had by a series of coincidences, really, I found myself working in a gallery in Edinburgh, run by a man called Richard DeMarco, who is known to quite a number of Romanians, and I believe is still well respected by them. This is a very brief CV. There is more, but it gives you perhaps some idea of my background. So we can just run down it quickly. We'll skip the first line because that's just too embarrassing. I went to the same College of Art as Henry Moore and Barbara Hepworth. I did my life drawing in the studio where they did theirs, so there's a link with a very important part of European history there. 72-3, I worked with Richard DeMarco in his gallery in Edinburgh, which was a very extraordinary place for promotion of contemporary art from Eastern Europe, or countries that were at that time communist. They were behind the Iron Curtain. Those are the words that people used. And they said, why is DeMarco promoting all this? What's wrong with British art? But that's a lot of history, a lot of water under the bridge, but very important, it gave me an insight into a much broader European view of art making, art history, and I've relished the opportunity to do that over the years. I first went to Poland in '85, a very cold spring, went back in 1986 to create an exhibition, which also coincided with me being asked to buy some advertising for the exhibition of Polish art that I was staging in a small town outside London. But as I didn't have an advertising budget, I persuaded the editor of an art journal called Artline, no longer exists, to commission me to write an article on Polish contemporary art. So that's really where I started writing, just having the cheek to say, I don't want to buy advertising, I will write an article for you. And that has led, as you can see as you follow down, to quite a number of opportunities, and much to my delight, the opportunity to write 4 books and to have a 5th one in preparation. Those have in turn led me to being on juries, as you can see, in Krakow, but elsewhere in Spain, Greece, UK, Czech Republic and Poland. And indeed to lecturing and speaking at conferences in all sorts of parts of the world, some of which have been really quite remarkable experiences. In 2011 I curated the Wrexham Print International, which featured a lot of Polish artists for some reason, and the International Printmaking Competition in Istanbul. And now I find myself here in Romania with the pleasure of working with the International Experimental Engraving Biennial. And I'm currently working on my 5th book, which is now up to 61 artists from 23 countries. The books are really a family, I think, of over 150 artists. So after all that CV, that's me a year or 2 ago. To get to a more serious point, these are absolutely central to my work as a writer, as a lecturer, as a participant in conferences, as a juror in competitions and so forth. It is very simple. Printmaking is art, and contemporary printmakers are contemporary artists. I imagine that's not too controversial in Romania, but believe me, it is still controversial in some parts of Britain. where people say, oh, but printmaking isn't art, is it? It's printmaking. No, I don't understand either. But, as I say here, there is no essential separation between what a printmaker does and what an artist does. They're equally creative and necessary. They both use hard-learned techniques, imagination and experience to make works that communicate with others. I'm reducing it to a very simple level, but that is the level at which I like to work and the level that I find seems to work in communicating with people who come to exhibitions and read my books and so on. The main exhibition will include 15 contemporary artists from Central and Eastern Europe, and North America and Western Europe. Those are the parameters that Olivia and Cyprian set down for me, and ones that I'm perfectly happy to follow. And they all use printmaking techniques as part of their practice. I do emphasize as part of their practice. It is important. The range of works will be wide, from works made in traditional techniques, as you will see, to works using digital technologies, some of which are being developed by the artists themselves. And in their individual ways, the artists raise questions and offer possible solutions to some of the problems faced by the emerging international society of the 21st century. The list of artists is, as you can see here, and I'm going to go through them one by one and show some of their work. Ana Soler from Spain is a very accomplished artist, works with conceptual exhibitions, sculptural installations, and digital prints. She's one of the most important artists and indeed teachers in Spain at the moment at the University of Pontevedra in Vigo. And this is some excerpts from a series of work that I will be choosing for the exhibition in Margashoya. These are digital prints, and they are about 1 meter by 80, roughly that size. The sequence continues beyond the one on the right, with more and more glass. And as you can see, it's called St. Valentine. By complete contrast, Anu Virtanen is an internationally respected and renowned artist from Finland. She lives, in fact, in an area that has fluctuated between being in Finland, which is, of course, part of Western Europe, and Russia, which, of course, isn't. The border has shifted. So she finds herself in this interim sort of space. Her work is very interesting because it is woodcut, traditional woodcut on Japanese paper. She has studied in Japan. But she manages to create a modern interpretation, I think is probably a fair way of putting it, of woodcut, works that have a transcendently beautiful quality, a complete contrast from the works of Ana Soler, as I think you will agree. Arden Osmanoğlu from Istanbul is a young artist with a unique approach to printmaking. She developed the idea of printmaking using screen print onto post-it notes, from which she creates installations. This one is called Pink Lies. It's a recent one in Istanbul, which I didn't see, but I have the photographs from Arden. It comprises quotations from Turkish politicians, hence Pink Lies. And the installation is really a heap of post-it notes stuck on a wall. A fairly interesting way of creating an installation, but it does create a remarkable multi-textured approach. I am doing my best to persuade Arden to do a variation on Pink Lies, which would use words by Romanian politicians, and which I think might be very interesting, particularly as Arden doesn't speak Romanian any better than I do, and would therefore have to transcribe them and print them onto post-it notes. She might then visit herself to make the installation. If not, they'll come in a box with instructions. and I think the instructions run stick on the wall. A little bit challenging, a little bit exciting, but I think wonderful work. Barbara Putnam from the eastern part of the United States also makes woodcuts using traditional techniques, either as flat prints or as woodcuts on quilts, and I'm hoping to persuade her to make a small size quilt, because normally they're very big, for Mogashoya. She also produces artist books using woodcut, and one of those, or more of those, will come with her work. The theme of her work, as you can see, is the ecological damage caused by industrialized fishing. It's a major issue for countries on the Atlantic, but also elsewhere in the world, such as the Pacific. Overfishing, hoovering up the fish from the bottom of the sea, and so forth. Beautiful work with a very serious intent. Also from the United States, and also using woodcut, rather interestingly, is Curtis William Riedel. Curtis is a very young artist. I don't think he's reached 30 yet, but he won the Student Excellence Award at the 2007 biennial or triennial in Estonia, in Tallinn. His work is predicated on symbols from a US currency, so you can see the eagle that flies proudly over the dollar bill, for some reason being slain, and equally on the dollar bill, the eye within the triangle is melting. So what goes up on the left, the expression what goes up must come down, and on the right, thus always tyrants, semper tyrannis. Excellent work, very controversial. By total contrast, Egle Kutskaiti from Lithuania has produced this series of very small etchings on slightly larger pieces of paper. These explore the role, as you can see, of the subconscious in Buddhist meditation practice by using the figure of the hare, the creature with the long ears. These are accompanied by quotations from a book on Zen meditation published in Malaysia in, I believe, 1993. I'm hoping to have the whole series on rather than just those two, but that's to be seen once I've been to Mogashoya. Totally different. These require to be looked at very closely and thought about very quietly. This is very dark. I don't know if you can make this out, but Igor Benca from Slovakia is a senior lecturer in printmaking there. And this series of works is so new, I've hardly had time to absorb it. The slides arrived on Monday, shortly before I got on the plane early on Tuesday morning. His work is fascinating, combining different approaches, as you can see, digital photography and digital interventions on the pieces above. These are very large, they're almost in the form of banners, but they are his view of media pressure, the pressure of art on the artist, and the integrity of the author and the work. I haven't seen these in their reality, but I'm looking forward to. Igor is a very talented artist. He's currently producing a book on contemporary printmaking techniques. Ivona Abrams, or Ivona Jaskowiak-Abrams, to give her a full title, is Polish-born but now living in England, has been a very successful artist internationally. This pair of prints are based on T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. They are simply screen-printed photographs, and I say simply advisedly because that's all they are. But the effect that they have on the size of the real prints is really quite remarkable. Ivona has a long history of using herself and her body as the subject and object of her work. So these, there will be additional prints either from this series or from an alternative one. Ivona is currently busy producing some new work, so I don't yet know myself exactly what will be shown, but these two certainly will be part. This work is a historic work by Savory Kaliski. The images only arrived yesterday, and I haven't had time to incorporate them in this presentation. They are only concept images at the moment, but they do continue from this work. Xavier is a technical expert who has a very strong traditional printmaking background. He writes software where it doesn't exist. He invents interactive devices where they don't exist, or uses existing technology where it does. He has interactive installations in places like the Nicholas Copernicus Science Center in Warsaw. His work for Mogoshoya is going to be very complicated, but he is going to come and put it all together, so that will be an interesting experience in itself. Essentially what it is a meditation on East and West, not so much in terms of East Europe and West Europe historically or in present days, but between notions of East and West. And from the information he sent me, it seems that tablet computers are involved in it somewhere. Whether people use those to interact or not, I don't yet know. I'm very excited to see how it turns out. This is a printmaker who has a touch of Gandalf about him. He's certainly a wizard in his use of technology, but also in his manipulation of images from a very wide range of cultural and religious traditions. That will be something very special. Marcus Rees-Roberts, yes, a fascinating artist who is a traditional printmaker. He makes woodcuts and he makes lino cuts, things to put in frames and hang on a wall. But recently he's become far more involved in the making of films which incorporate elements from his work, but also archive photography and film, and his own film, music, either established music or music that he has commissioned himself. The series is now up to 24 films, and I will show at the end of the presentation the 24th of them, which is called The Dead Voices. It's a 10-minute film that I want to show in its entirety, so you will have an opportunity to see that. I hope that he will have 3 works in Mogoshoya, and we have to arrange the best way of showing those. They are quite extraordinarily beautiful. As a complete contrast, Monika Vaniera-Kurasad is a name that some of you will remember from the 4th edition of the Biennial. But these are new works. They are about 120 centimeters wide. The white, I would stress, is just the background to her images. The vertical sides are in fact on the slant, as you see. These are intensely beautiful digital images, really taking digital to a new aesthetic extreme that I'm delighted to be able to include. Now, for some reason, he gets stuck here. I don't know quite what's happening with this. It's up. Here. Up. We have to go back. I'm sorry. We have to go back now. There we are. I think, yes, I agree with Strypian that Monika is an important artist, and she also has a central role with the new incarnation of the Krakow International Triennial. Moises Jaguas, an artist I encountered when I went to Stampa, immediately before going to Cuenca in 2007. Moises Jaguas is a self-taught artist. He fell in love with printmaking and decided he was going to do it, and has taught himself to do it. His work is fascinating. It belongs in the tradition of Spanish surrealism, but in a particularly contemporary form. There is a humour in his work, but it's a dark humour and there's a deep seriousness beneath it. What I'm delighted in is that, as you can see from the image on the right, that is a lino print on the wall, but the black extension beyond the edge of the print is painted on the wall of the gallery. So this is liner cuts that are taking over the gallery space. So this may be the one I'll choose. There may be other new ones. I think it's going to be an interesting experience. So we will be painting the walls. I'm sure you're happy about that. He's an interesting ingredient, touch of humour, but deadly serious. This is, initially it looks like a lithograph. Robert Baramov from Bulgaria indeed does produce lithographs with this extraordinary degree of technical ability. But this is an animation. It begins in a short while. It runs for about 8 minutes. I do apologise for the fact that I haven't been able to transcribe the sound from the file that he sent me. It does have a soundtrack, and that will be part of the presentation in Mogashoya. So I'm going to be quiet now until this is finished. It's got a little while to go, but do have a look at it and see what's going on. To be an artist in the world today, and particularly an artist in Greece. This is very political work, and I make absolutely no excuse for including it. But it also works technically very interestingly, because these are not flat prints on paper. They are dry point on plexiglass with mirror and digital print. And you can't really see it at the moment, but when they're on the wall, you will be reflected in them. You will become part of the work, and you can decide for yourself how far you identify with the 3 statements that he is putting before us. So he's the final one of the 15 in alphabetical order. The final form of the exhibition, I will just read this because it is important, will be dependent on the final choice of works of the artists. And at the present moment, some of that has yet to be made. The installation will seek to establish links and contrasts through the work of the artists from countries that are very different and with different histories of printmaking. But at the same time, the exhibition would also seek to demonstrate that the approaches to the making of art taken by artists from different parts of the world present many more similarities between them than there are differences. At the same time, despite the world moving towards an ever greater degree of internationalism, it's striking that countries retain their own cultural identities. Artists using printmaking techniques belong to a unique international community, one in which collaboration and technical innovation lead to cooperation and interaction, and this exhibition will be part of that community. I look forward to seeing you here. Mulțumesc, thank you very much. I'll now attempt to harness the technology and play the Marcus Rhys-Roberts film for you. Just pause for a moment. While I'm sorting the film out, here in the middle of this photograph, where the little arrow is, that's where I live. So if you happen to be flying over that part of Wales, you can wave to me. Right, the film should auto-run. It'll take a moment or two to make its mind up. It should all just happen. If it doesn't, I've got a problem. Something is happening. That is the end of the film, in fact. I'm sorry you haven't seen it under ideal conditions, but in Mogadishu it will be arranged so that you can see that film and the two preceding films with much more clarity. So perhaps treat that as being a trailer for the main event. Thanks for seeing that, and thanks for doing your best to see it as well as you can.
Thank you, Richard Noyce, and we'll quickly go on. We'll move on to Adrian Guță, who will present us his project or his thoughts on the Romanian section of the biennial. Adrian, please.
Thank you, Bogdan. I did enjoy Mr. Noyce's narrative, so I'm going to say myself a very small story, very personal one, meaning that I got closer to graphic arts, to filmmaking, since my student years, because we were asked for, in the terminal year of our studies, to do something extra the graduation thesis, meaning being very close to our colleagues in different other sections, painting, sculpture, engraving, and so on and so forth. So I got acquainted to my colleagues in the graphic department. It was the first time when I entered a studio, when I got known to their works in process, and that was very good. So I did my extra thesis, and since then I enjoyed very much following up the artists and getting into the engraving printmaking studio in Bucharest, which was the most important place for such things, for engraving, for etching, for lithographs. I got known to the techniques, to the artists, several generations of artists, and I'm still doing it. So I was very pleased when Ciprian and Olivia challenged me to contribute to the fourth edition of the biennial, when we agreed that I do, and I did, a selection, of course, a personal selection of Romanian experimental filmmaking of the 70s and the 80s. And I tried to put together names, very well-known names, often exhibited, with other names, less known in Bucharest or even all over Romania. And I hope I succeeded in this. For the fifth edition, for this year, I took another way. I'm trying to offer three small personal exhibitions of three artists from different generations. I will reveal two of the names. I'm still working on the third, on the youngest. And the other two names are Ioan Grigorescu. He is a very well-known Romanian artist, locally but also internationally, starting from the 90s and on and on. Now he did exhibit to the most important international competitions and art festivals. But I think he was mostly exhibited in one section or few sections of his work, mainly experimental photograph and film. So I'm trying to put forward, to bring into light his graphic artist work, his experiments in different techniques of engraving. I did the first step 2 years ago, but I'd like to continue.
With those wonderful smoked
among others,
pieces,
yes. And
smoke on glass.
Yeah, and I do enjoy the fact that he agreed and he likes it, and he agreed my challenge, and we'll work together on this. And the second name is Cristian Paraschiv, Romanian artist who's now who's living for about 20 or 25 years in Paris. And I think his work could ask one of the main questions you put in your concept of this edition, mainly the identity of an artist in the intersection of East and West, because he's working now he's working for 25 years on his second identity as a Paris-based artist, but also remaining a Romanian artist. And I think he's doing it all right. And his work is both Romanian, French, and international. And he's a very interesting example from another point of view, from experimenting with very different media for printmaking, from paper to skin cell culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
Let's have
Cosmin Architect.
okay, Cosmin Architect, please. And then we will listen to Mrs. Dela Mândru, to Olivia Nițiș, Andrea Migu going to add something, and everyone else will be welcome. I will also be very glad to hear the Austrian voices here, please. Okay, Cosmin.
Thank you. Good evening, my name is Cafeneaua. I'm representing Square Media, which is one of the best printmaking studios from the West. And I'm saying that it's the best, because, not because of technological details or things like this, but because we also believe that printmaking is an art. So we are involved in art projects, exhibitions, books, and so on and so forth. Ciprian asked me if I want to say a few words. I don't want to speak about our project because it's important to see it when it will happen. But I think it's important for us to thank Ciprian and Olivia for inviting us to participate into this edition of the Biennial, to thank for the occasion of being in the presence of such important curators, and also to thank Mihail Zondoiu for receiving us in his space. So that is what I just wanted to add. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cosmin Architect. Mrs. Dela Mândru en français, comme hôte de l'exposition principale de la Biennale.
Bon, mon rôle d'hôtesse sera pas très compliqué, mais il a été à un moment donné vraiment un petit rôle. Parce que je me rappelle la troisième biennale, lorsque nous avons reçu 175 artistes, œuvres d'artistes, qui ont été envoyées par poste, et on a eu un bon jury. C'était des gens qui venaient de Sibiu, de Timișoara, et qui étaient des gens très importants dans la gravure contemporaine ou bien dans la critique d'art, Bienala. Mais on a été vraiment embarrassés devant et la multitude et la diversité et un peu le manque d'orientation. Parce que c'était une sorte de diversité qui ne savait pas où elle allait. Bon, alors, ça a été la proposition de Mogoshoaya envers Ciprian Ciucla et toute l'équipe de la Biennale, de faire des biennales plus restreintes, mais des biennales avec des curateurs. Et comme cela, on a eu déjà une très bonne biennale. Bon, la quatrième, avec des curateurs qui venaient d'Autriche et de la Pologne. Bon, et aussi avec ce curateur qui est notre collègue Adrian Buța, qui a fait une très belle mise en page de la gravure des années 80. Bon, et de cette génération. dans l'art romain. Maintenant, je vois que la Biennale des curateurs est vraiment la vraie voie des bons événements de l'art international. Et comme cela, je ne peux que féliciter Cyprien et Richard de Marco pour ce que je vais voir à Mogoshoya et Adrian. Pardon. Pardon. Donc, vraiment, beaucoup, un peu, d'une génération presque. Bon, je m'excuse. Voilà, les souvenirs, on a beaucoup parlé un peu avant la présentation sur sa première visite et sur Richard de Marco, vraiment. Je m'excuse. Et j'attends avec vraiment un grand intérêt la nouvelle présentation des artistes romains que Adrian Gutze va nous faire. Son choix est toujours très intéressant, très important et a son poids très important dans toute la Biennale. Bon, alors on va avoir un catalogue, non? Qui ne va pas exprimer les films. Je vois qu'il y aura vraiment un grand choix et un grand rôle du film dans cette biennale. Mais c'est une sorte de film dans lequel on retrouve la gravure, on retrouve les techniques de la gravure, les modalités et toute l'émotion du mouvement. Alors, on vous attend à Mogoshoya.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Doina Mundru. Olivia, I will pass the mic to you. Maybe you would add something about the whole biennial or also about the other venues and exhibitions also organized within the same framework of this edition.
Yes, I will not keep you too long. First, I would like to thank Richard Noyes for being here and for showing his selection, which I find very good. And indeed, I have to second the thoughts of Doina Mundru in mentioning that it's really important to have a curator, the mind of the curator, to put everything together. That is really, really important. I would also like to just briefly speak about the pavilions, the selection of the artists that I'm working on. Of course, it's a work in progress. So at Victoria Art Center, and I would like to thank Mr. Lukac, unfortunately he couldn't be here this evening, for giving us the opportunity to exhibit in Victoria Art Center. We will have 3 pavilions, an Austrian pavilion, a Hungarian pavilion, and a Polish pavilion. I would like to say that I'm focusing on an exhibition selection that will be socially and politically engaged, and therefore I will also pay attention to the gender issue. So far, regarding the Austrian pavilion, we will have on board 5 artists. I'm still discussing this with one of them. They're all women. They're very, very good contemporary artists. I'd like to mention the four names. It's Marusa Sagadin, Janine Pelzo, Sigrid Langer, and Eva Merseneder. One very interesting point is that Eva Merseneder co-curated the previous edition, but she's also an artist, so I decided to give her the opportunity to express herself this time as an experimental artist. She really enjoyed the experience of co-curating with Marta Racek from Poland, the previous edition. So now we thought, why not? You're also an artist and a very good technician, so why not express yourself as an experimental artist? So I would like to thank the Austrian Cultural Forum, the Polish Institute, and the Hungarian Institute. Their support is very important for these three pavilions. And thank again to the OMV for their support. It's really important for us. And in Sibiu, we will have an event. We will involve one artist who will simply need to somehow get in a dialogue with the collection of the Buchenwald Museum. So it will be a contemporary dialogue, a process of looking into the past. And it's really interesting because the collection mostly shows works that are focused on the positive side of life. So the Baron of Buchenwald was an ecologist. He really cared about nature, and I think this will be quite interesting, quite a provocative process for the artist to get in touch with that. I'm not going to say who the artist is because we haven't decided yet, but we really need to be really, really careful on his or her name because it has to be compatible to this collection. So yes, thank you again, Dustin.
Okay, thank you, Olivia. And I will please invite you, Barbara Baum and Oskar Blue, to say something about
that is if you only would like to say something.
Yes,
you don't have to, you're not forced to.
Yes, we'll not force you, but I will ask you to do that. And perhaps also speak not only, as I said in the beginning, not only from the point of view of the company you represent, but also as curators and organizers for cultural events, and maybe if you can also add a few words about yourselves, that would be very nice. We're listening to you, please.
Well, thank you. And there has been already said so much about us that I don't want to add much more. We are just happy to support the Bienal, and we are looking forward to the opening. Thank you.
Nichts mehr? Das war alles. Dankeschön. Okay, so I will also invite anyone to add something, ask questions, or just state something about this biennial. As host and moderator of this discussion, I feel the need to add at least one sentence, but I will try to make it as powerful as I can. For we have been witnessing here so far a lot of details, the projects of the two main exhibitions, the main exhibition and the complementary Romanian, plus what Olivia has added. Everything has been detailed, but I think we have not perhaps put in words something about the broad perspective, the whole, about the event as a whole. And I think we should say that, and we should repeat that this is going to be, it is, as an ongoing project, already at its 5th edition, a major European visual art event. And it is the more spectacular, in my opinion at least, as an event focusing on one form of art which is usually not considered major. Richard Marx has started from the very idea of be it or not a form of art itself. Okay, everyone here agrees that it is, but it is never considered one of the major art forms. Ciprian Ciuclea, Olivia Nițiș, Andrea Nicu, and aides have succeeded, I think, to put up a major European art event based on what is normally a sort of a Cinderella of the arts, or one of the Cinderellas of the artistic field, which I think is wonderful. And well, we are always, I think, on Cinderella's side, aren't we? So, please, whoever wants to add, cine vrea să mai adauge ceva, să spună ceva despre edițiile precedente, despre ce am văzut acum în prezentările invitațiilor noștri, eventuale întrebări. Adrian, please. Adrian, yes, please.
No, I just add something to what you said, because this Cinderella kind of art just has very close connections to your field, to literature. And I remember that one of my colleagues, the graphic artist, in my student years, in the graduation year, afterwards she did some visual interpretations to Gabriel Garcia Marquez's short stories. And the book got to the writer and he said it was the best visual interpretation of his stories. And her name is Dodi Romanas and she's living since late 80s in Denmark. But she still keeps connections with Romania.
Thank you, Adrian. That's a wonderful extra-European, international expansion of whatever we are discussing. Please, yes, please, Richard Merton, again.
I'm going to tell you a story because, well, that's what I do, really. And it does actually impinge on this whole idea of what printmaking is. A very good printmaker, born in Northern Ireland, now teaching at the University of Aberystwyth in Wales, Paul Croft, is trained at the Tamarind Institute at the University of New Mexico as a master printer. And he is a lithographer extraordinaire. I mean, what he can't do with lithography is impossible. But he organised an exhibition called Stone, Plate, Grease, Water. And those of you who know about lithography will recognise those as being really the four constituents, which opened at the Museum of Modern Art in Wales, in a town called Machynlleth, which I won't spell for you, but it's a Welsh town. I was asked if I would open the exhibition, was delighted to do so. And I did have a lot of pleasure looking around the exhibition as people were examining the works on display. It was an international exhibition. There's work for about 7 or 8 countries there. And there were 2 little old Welsh ladies who were probably very much like little old Romanian ladies, I should imagine. They're going around they had the Sunday hats on, they had their handbags, they were beautifully dressed, and they went around looking at what was on the walls. And I was very close behind them, and I found myself tailing them. Always wanted to be a spy, you see. So the conversation they had was something like this. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's a nice picture. What is it? Oh, yes, look, it's those. Oh, we've been there. It's a watercolour, isn't it? I think so, yes. I'll just look at the label. Oh, no. It says lithograph. Oh, that's interesting. I thought it was watercolour. They went on a little further, they came to another work and said, oh, well, that's a nice drawing. Are you sure it's a drawing, dear? Oh, I'd better look at the label. Oh, that's a lithograph as well. And so it went right through the exhibition, and every time they found out that what they were looking at was not a watercolour, or a drawing, or a stencil, or an oil painting, but a lithograph. Always eyes got wider and wider, and they ended up turning to me and saying, oh, yes, you opened the exhibition. We have enjoyed it. What a wonderful thing lithography is. Yes? Now, that was a really nice event. I was delighted. I wanted to hug them both, but it was Sunday, so I decided not to. I was in Chapelgo in North Wales. But the point out of this is that, as I hope the exhibition I'm curating and all the other exhibitions will prove to people who maybe don't know about printmaking or know about it and are a bit, what we would say in English, a bit sniffy about it, dismissive. Printmaking is not real art. Will learn something which proves that it is indeed very much a vital part of contemporary art. So that's really where I'm heading, and I hope everyone will come along with me. Thank you.
Thank you again, Richard Noyce. Anyone else willing to add something in English, French, German, Romanian, Japanese? As we all know, as you all know, this edition of my critical cafe, that's the rough and English translation of the label at the end of these meetings I'm organizing. It doesn't sound very well in English, but in Romanian it's okay. This edition has been much more promotional than a debate and much less analytical as it usually is. We are discussing here every week artistic events or whatever, things which are happening or have just happened, so the analytical part is much more important. This time we have been very glad here to host the promotion of an event, of an upcoming event. And as we did during the fourth edition, maybe we will also have the analytical version of this, with you here being again, if you will travel back to Bucharest, not only for the opening, but also later, during the biennial or after its closure, and we'll be very happy to discuss and see how much of what you have now thought of and you are now prognosing what will come true and what more you will add. I'm sure there will be more things to that. Artists which Adrian, Olivia, Richard are still in the process of choosing and so on and so forth. So, shall we put an end to this in this way right here? Ciprian, Olivia, would you add something? Okay, then I will just say it for maybe in Romanian. Ediția viitoare, joia viitoare, la Muzeul Literaturii, în cadrul Târgului Național al Cărții de Poezie, o seară specială cu nici nu știu dacă se spun poetul, scriitor și prozator, teoretician, filozoful Gheorghe Iova, o personalitate extrem de interesantă a câmpul intelectual românesc contemporan. Vă invit pe toți, dacă vă face plăcere, să veniți săptămâna viitoare, puțin pe mai devreme, de la 6, la Muzeul Național de Literatură Română din București. Și vă mulțumesc tuturor. Thank you all for having been here. And my only, well, whatever, frustration is that so many important and wonderful people involved in Romanian arts and in Romanian art critique and so on have not said something in this meeting we have had, but I will be waiting for you all to discuss the event when it will be ongoing. So, I think we may all wish good luck to the 5th edition of the International Experimental Engraving Biennial in Bucharest, Moldova, and Sibiu. That much. Good night. And whoever wishes to stay in this underground, there will be probably a very noisy rock concert in this hall. That screen will be removed. You see there are drums and other instruments behind it. In about 1 hour time, there will be here an inferno of music, or a paradise.